Digital world, do you want me to give you a review of the new Roland Emmerich disaster film Moonfall? You don't? Well, too bad, I'm going to give you one anyway. Haha. Welcome to another episode of Spliced In Later, everybody. It's been a bit. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, having a nice little break, a nice little holiday, resting by the beach, going on theme park rides, drinking beers. It's been good. And now I'm back and ready for hopefully a few months, weeks, whatever, of uninterrupted content. But who knows? Life is funny sometimes, isn't it? We are beginning today with another movie review. I believe my last review for you all was the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, which wasn't a particularly shining review, but also not really a I don't really care review. It is what it is, and let's not dwell too much on something like that. But this one is a bit different. Moonfall, directed by Roland Emmerich, is a big blockbuster. Well, it's supposed to be a big blockbuster movie. Maybe during pandemic times that phrase doesn't mean as much as it does anymore, but it's something that's supposed to have a lot of money put into it with the intent of having a lot of money come back. Big star power, big CGI, big explosions, big action, all of that stuff. This is the movie that I guess the phrase you have to see in cinema is what defines it, I guess. I suppose for something like this, the directors really want you to see it on the big screen rather than just something that's churned out in a couple of days to be put on a streaming service for content. Now, a bit of disclaimer before we begin. This is not something that I had planned to go and see. I knew that it was coming. I knew that it would exist, but it was one of those movies where I thought that I'd probably just catch it whenever I can. It is the first Roland Emmerich movie I have seen in cinema. Oh, no, I tell a lie. I've seen Independence Day Resurgence in cinemas, but that one doesn't really count because it's a sequel to Independence Day and I've already seen that. This is the first Roland Emmerich original movie that I have gone to see in the cinemas. I haven't seen any of the others in cinemas, but I do enjoy a majority of them. A bit of housekeeping beforehand. Roland Emmerich is an interesting man who makes interesting films. Maybe not interesting in the artistic sort of sense, but certainly in the terms of enjoyable for me. Basically, the guy loves to make disaster movies, disaster porn as it were, basically situations where the human race is absolutely annihilated or put through the ringer through varying different circumstances, whether it's an alien invasion, a global warming event, the Mayan calendar screwing everything up for everybody, a big lizard coming into town to stomp on everybody. But it's not played in like a gloomy, doomy disaster. We all will die and there's nothing good about it. There's also a lightheartedness. I've heard people say that Roland Emmerich wants to be the next Steven Spielberg, or at least he approaches his films in the same way, which is that he tries to put a lot of unique characters with big personalities and a lot of heart and emotion into their engagement with each other, and they all go through certain character arcs to get through the film itself. Not necessarily we have to survive the world freezing over, but can I reconcile with my wife? Can my estranged son ever forgive me for not being there at his drag race? Will my love interest who has gone to another man come to me instead by the end of this movie? They're all very bombastic, over the top. There's always some one or two wacky side characters that are there just to say comedic things about the situation that's going on. If you were about to be hit by a death laser from an alien, you go, oh no. That's the Harvey Fierstein for you if you're wondering where that's from Independence Day. But it's very cheesy, and I don't know if he knows that it's cheesy or he thinks it's genuine heart and emotion and it's really coming through at his movie. It's kind of like the Neil Breen situation. Neil Breen, if you're unfamiliar, is a very poor filmmaker. He makes absolutely terrible films. He funds them himself. He directs them. He stars in them. He does the cinematography, all of that. They're absolute trash, but they're so bad that they're laughably funny and very enjoyable as a result. And as a result of continuing movies getting popular on YouTube and all that, and people talking about it, Neil Breen himself must by now know the reason why his films are so popular. But then you watch interviews with him, and he doesn't really grasp it. I think he genuinely thinks that he's making great film and people are loving the film because of it and because of him. he perceives himself a different way, and he perceives the way people are perceiving him in the way he wishes to perceive it. And it's possible that Roland Emmerich might be just the Neil Breen of the big blockbuster world. I mean, his movies aren't terrible in that sense, but they're goofy, they're schlocky, they're cheesy. They never will win an Academy Award for Best Film. No one acting in his films is ever going to get a Best Actor nomination of that such. It's basically just, it is the epitome, turn your brain off sort of films. You go in because it says, in this movie, aliens are going to wipe out humans. Okay, I'm ready to settle in and watch that. The big tidal wave is going to wash away New York. Okay, I'm going to settle in to see that. That sounds great. Tornado's going to pick up all these people and fling them into the distance. Sounds good. These characters that we're following, they're funny, they're interesting, they're nice. Some we decide, okay, I hope you don't die. Some we decide, oh boy, you are going to die. But whether they do survive or not is immaterial to just the enjoyment of the big bombastic situation that we are getting. Does Roland Emmerich know that, is my question. Does he know when he makes these films that that is what we're going to see? Or is he doing it because he thinks that the character stories that are amongst all this are truly awe-inspiring and emotional? I don't know. I will never know. I don't know the man. I will not meet him. But at the end of all that, at the end of the day, I have a very soft spot in my heart for most of his films because of that, because of the dumbness of them, the schlockiness over the top. I'm not a sadist. I don't watch these movies because I secretly want people to be obliterated by world-changing events. But in Roland Emmerich movies, I enjoy watching it. I don't go, haha, yeah, die everybody. It's the grand spectacle of it all. And his movies always look good too when the disaster stuff is happening. When things are getting destroyed or blown away or washed away or all of that, it's enjoying to watch because it is such a scale. You believe what you're watching, you understand it, you can see it happening. It's painted in such a way that you could go, okay, in that situation, it would look like that. Maybe not the quirky side character running along going, oh gosh, I gotta call my mother. But of the same situation, yeah. And they're long movies, but they tend to run along because they're evenly paced between the big disaster moments and then some quiet moments where the humans will rally and find a way out of their precarious predicaments. As such, Independence Day, love it. Day After Tomorrow, really enjoy it. Stargate, which is not quite a disaster film, but there's elements of it in there, pretty good. Some I like more than others. I'm not a huge fan of Godzilla. I don't think his is particularly good. And 2012, I think, was a step in the wrong direction. I think he went too far in terms of the disaster element. By the end of it, it's very hard to go, okay, no one's going to really recover from this. And how do you recover from this? You can't just stand on a mountaintop amongst a literally destroyed Earth and go, well, we gotta find some wood and rebuild our houses. Oh boy. But don't worry, we're a family again, and that's what's important. No, we went a little too far, but I don't hate it. It's fine. So because of that, because I enjoy them all, and because this movie was coming, and not much else is out, I thought, okay, I will give it a go. The first Roland Emmerich film in the cinemas, Moonfall. What do I think of it? Well, unfortunately, aside from a few moments where I thought the CGI and the spectacle of what I was watching looked pretty good, aside from one character which I did genuinely think was a likable character and I enjoyed watching their performance and I felt for them in a way that I didn't feel for any other characters, I feel like there is no magic in Moonfall, and also that it's very boring. Very boring for a movie that's over 2 hours that is working on the same themes that he's done many times before. This is a guy who knows how to pace his disasters. This left me feeling, it was boring or annoying, or I don't know. I guess, well, you can tell from my initial reaction here, I'm not a fan. I didn't like it. It's definitely not going to be in my top 10 films of this year, that's for sure. I don't think I hate it. I think I'm just disappointed by it. I think because of what I'm used to from Roland Emmerich, I feel like he either didn't put nearly as much effort into this one as he has in the past, or he wasn't quite sure what it is that he wanted to make. He tried to make about 3 or 4 different films, and as a result, none of them achieved its purpose, and so it left me wanting in a lot of certain areas. But I do have to say one thing off the bat, and I think it may have contributed to the failure of this film, essentially, is that I don't know, but I think, especially with movies and TV shows, that there's still a lot to navigate in terms of filming this stuff in I wouldn't say a post-COVID world, but a COVID world. We are at a point now where productions are resuming on many films and TV shows. It's all churning out as what they can to entertain us, or at the very least, put them in a wardrobe somewhere until the movie producers and companies and whatever decide to actually let us see the films. But no, there's been no delay on making films, that's for sure. But they have to follow COVID protocols. So in most instances, I suppose people have to maintain social distancing, have to limit the amount of people on set, because if you get a COVID breakout case, or if you get one, and especially with something like Omicron, it does take off, and you get shut down for a few weeks, you go back, oops, someone else has got it, you got to shut down again. So you got to find ways to get around that so it happens as little as possible. And it's not just actors, it's directors, production assistants, costume designers, all the people that work on these films working at a smaller capacity and at a social distancing capacity. And I think in a movie like this, that approach takes away from the bombastic nature that you come to expect from a Roland Emmerich film. Specifically is that it feels like nobody is in this film. Apart from our core group of characters that we follow, there's no epic scale or sense of the world or the end of the world or whatever's happening. I should say, I haven't really explained what the point is. If you don't know what Moonfall is, the basic plot of it is that the human race discovers that the moon is falling out of orbit and it is going to hit the Earth, or at very least get so close to the Earth that it completely fucks up our gravity, our position with the sun, our ability to sustain life. So gravity is going to go haywire, people are going to lose oxygen, they're going to explode, all sorts of stuff. Moon coming to Earth in any sense is not good. I think the ultimate goal, though, was to assume that the moon eventually will collide with the Earth, eventually killing all life on Earth as we know it. So our main core group of characters are trying to figure out a way to stop this from happening or figure out why it's happening. And then assorted here and there, you've got military personnel and all that coming up with other ways to stop the moon that are more harmful to the human race. But in true Roland Emmerich style, there's one or two specific families in this film that you focus on, and their relationship struggles are in there. You've got our main actor, Patrick Wilson, who is a washed-up astronaut who first discovered that something was wrong with the moon, but got blacklisted, so no one believes him. So he's fallen out with his family, specifically his son, who has become a delinquent. He had a work colleague, played by Halle Berry, who has now become director of NASA, but her commitment to her work has left her not only estranged from him, but from her husband as well. And then you also have John Bradley's character, KC, who is the wacky conspiracy theorist character in the film. The guy who discovers first that the moon's going to hit the Earth, but of course, nobody listens to him. So he has to talk to the right people and go about in some wacky shenanigans, and then once people believe him, he of course joins in on the main plot to stop it. Those are basically our three main points. Every other character that's in this film builds off those three. They're our trinity of the film. Now, as I said though, aside from them and the family and everybody else, it feels like they're the only ones on Earth. There are not as many scenes as I would like in this film where disaster is actually happening, but when it does, when they're driving around through streets or when cars are being lifted up into the sky, I noted that nobody seemed to be around. In 2012 or the day after tomorrow or Independence Day, when the disaster is hitting, you see humans flying about and getting vaporized and falling into holes and crashing their cars. The carnage is not violent because it's not mature audiences or anything like that, but you get, okay, this is a world-ending event. People around us are dying. This is bad. But in this film, you never see anything like that. You see, because CGI can do it, you can see buildings being hit with asteroids and water washing into LA and oxygen being pulled out of the Rocky Mountains and the snow and all of that stuff. But aside from our main characters, you don't see anybody else. You don't see people running away. You don't see people dying. You just see maybe every now and then one or two cars or people, but nothing. And for something like this, which is supposed to be a world-ending disaster movie sort of thing, you do want to see that. You want to understand the scale of it. The closest we get is that frequently throughout the movie, characters will turn on the TV or look at a laptop, and a news reporter will say, over in Beijing, a big tornado has hit and killed millions. Or over in Australia, the oxygen was ripped out of the atmosphere and everybody suffocated to death as a big tidal wave essentially washed Australia off the map. There's a difference, though, between, as I've said before, show and tell. You feel like you're missing something when it's just, the disaster thing. The thing you came to the disaster movie to see, it did happen, but you just don't get to see it. It's just on a little YouTube vid. It's like that old 2014 Godzilla movie, where every time Godzilla was about to show up or about to punch someone, he cut away, and then you watch the news creator going, boy, oh boy, that Godzilla fight was something. Eh? Wasn't that great? Did you see? Well, you know the rest. No, we don't. We didn't see it. And it's the same sort of thing here. As I said though at the start, is that because of COVID? Is because you can't have all those extras or sets? But I mean, you're making CGI mountains. You can make CGI people from the distance. I don't know. I'm not a filmmaker, but you can really notice that. It feels empty. It feels void of that human devastation that you would get from it. Secondly, as I said earlier, the movie doesn't know what it wants to be. If it's a disaster movie, there's not nearly enough scenes of disaster. Is it a space exploration movie? Is it an alien invasion movie? Is it an extraterrestrial origin movie? Is it the movie about the origin of the human species? Yes, because all those elements are here in this movie, but also no, because not nearly enough time is dedicated on any of it to really make it pinpoint in its dedication to telling a story. There are moments, I should say, in here where I was intrigued. The best part about the movie for me is towards the end, where Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry, and John Bradley get in a rocket and fly to the moon. They're going to blow it up, or they're going to look inside the moon. They're going to see what's what. They go inside the moon and they discover some stuff going on. There's hints of alien extraterrestrial activity. There's a sense of there's more to the moon than just a rock in space. There always has been. It makes you think about the moon as a concept, what it is. Like, your imagination can go wild with that stuff. That's interesting. But it's not really anything other than, doesn't matter because we've got to stop the moon anywhere from hitting the Earth. So it's irrelevant because we've got a ticking clock. We've got 10 minutes and we've only just now uncovered this civilization. But we gotta move on. We gotta go because the moon's gonna hit the Earth. Then you've got the stuff on Earth. You've got the disaster coming. As I said, then it cuts away. You've got our core group of characters that are still on the Earth, but no one's really larger than life in the essence of a Roland Emmerich film. No one captures your attention. Everybody seems bored and bland. Michael Pena is in this film. You know Michael Pena. He's Luis from Ant-Man. That character is larger than life. He steals every scene he's in. In this film, he's like, well, we gotta go. Put on your oxygen. Now we gotta get in the car. We gotta go. Oh, the moon's coming. Quick, drive the car faster. There's no emotion in Patrick Wilson's son. There's no emotion in anyone really doing anything. Even the generals who are going to nuke the moon, potentially causing fallout for the Earth, are like, okay, are we going to do it? Yes. There's a really funny scene, and I don't think it was intended to be funny, but Halle Berry is the deputy director of NASA, and when they discover that the moon's going to fuck us over, the director of NASA goes, okay, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm going now. And she goes, what? And he goes, yep, you're director of NASA. Here's my credentials. Bye. But there's no emotion to that. Like, if you could make him panicky, you could make him stressed out, you can make him angry, but he literally just goes, I don't feel like being here anymore. This is yours now. Bye-bye. Donald Sutherland is in this film comically for 4 minutes. He rolls up in a wheelchair. He says, the moon isn't a moon, and then he rolls away. Crazy stuff. When you think back on Independence Day, when you have wacky people like Will Smith and Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum and Randy Quaid, and the day after tomorrow, you still had the crazy New York residents that were holed up with Jake Gyllenhaal inside the library that was freezing all around them. You remember characters, you remember moments. Nobody here looked like they wanted to be on the film, except for John Bradley. As mentioned earlier, he's the character I liked the most. I enjoyed his arc in the story. He always wanted to go to space. He's always wanted to work at NASA, but people call him chubby. He has spent more time looking after his sick mum. He is more focused on conspiracy theory. He believes more about what's out in the moon and space than is allowed at NASA, I guess. I guess if you believe in extraterrestrial life, they don't let you work there. But he goes through a great struggle of trying to get people to believe about what's going on in the moon. And then when everything's hitting the fan, he steps up. He takes on a lot of responsibility, even while he's fighting serious anxiety issues. He's got some funny one-liners, as I said. When you want those vibrant, over-the-top characters in these movies, he fits that bill with a few things. His comedic timing is good. You enjoy him getting to see him go into space and participate. And when he stands alongside Patrick Wilson, who's just like, I'm astronaut man, and Halle Berry, I'm scientist woman, they're so bland. And he has to do 90% of the heavy lifting to make you enjoy what you're watching. I think he had a really good, satisfying conclusion to his story arc, and then they ruined it in the final 5 seconds. But to be fair, in recent movies, Roland Emmerich has ruined a few of his movies, because this is definitely set up to be, oh, you ready for Moonfall 2? I don't think we're going to get Moonfall 2. I'm going to stake a claim and say this is the only Moonfall we're going to get. Some positives though. What does look good with the CGI when it's bothered is impressive to watch, especially on a cinema screen. The more and more filming movies about people in space, it looks incredible in their astronaut spacesuits above the Earth. The vast emptiness of space, it's a scary place. I don't ever want to go there. But seeing stuff like this and Gravity and First Man, there's a sense of scale and overpoweringness of the void, which I really like to see. It really fills me up with like, oh, okay, cool, that's space. And that looks good here. At the start, when they're working on a space station, towards the end when they're going to the moon. And as the moon is getting closer to Earth, it fucks with the way gravity works and your perception of space and the moon itself, seeing the moon up close to the Earth. That looks really cool. And a few instances where you could see disaster, it did look okay. It didn't look like cheap CGI. It just was very, very undertone. It wasn't bombastic. It wasn't like, whoa, there goes LA. It was just, bye LA. Okay, what are we doing now? But that's the saving grace, unfortunately. I don't ever really want to watch this movie again. I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's a wasted opportunity. I feel like nobody wanted to make it. If it was too hard to make because of COVID restrictions, don't make it. Do something else. Wait a while. Make a movie when your heart is in it. And I don't think Roland Emmerich's heart was in it. I don't think Patrick Wilson was there for anything more than a check. I think like John Bradley is the only one who showed up on set and went, all right, let's make a movie. So I appreciate him for that. I appreciate the scale and the visuals for a few of these things. I do appreciate the imaginative nature of what is the moon and the potential of what could have been some really interesting stuff with space civilizations and the origins of humanity and all of that. But overall, no one looked like they wanted to be there. The movie slogged along at a very slow pace. There wasn't nearly enough disaster carnage as you want from a movie like this. There wasn't nearly enough sense of scale for that bit. And overall, it just was a waste of time, unfortunately. It does rank a little higher for me than Ice Age, because Ice Age really was not made with any intention to be good. It was made just to be something on streaming for people to watch. I cannot say for certain if no one wanted to make this film, but the amount of money that was sunk into it, they obviously expected it to do well. So I guess some effort was put in there. But I really can't rate this higher than a 5 out of 10. Now, you might say that's high, considering how I've talked about it. But again, I don't regret going to see it, and there are parts of it that I liked. It's just mundane. It's completely average, which is not something you've come to expect from movies by Roland Emmerich, the disaster scale. When you compare this to Day After Tomorrow and Independence Day, and you looked at the concept in this movie of the moon hitting the Earth and affecting gravity and alien stuff and all of that, there's a lot of untapped potential here, which could have made this really entertaining and a lot of fun, but there was no fun. And that's the real sad point of Moonfall. Disappointingly, but that's the end of my review. Thanks for listening. I'll be back in a couple of days, though, to review Death on the Nile. I'm really excited for that one. I don't know if you can tell. I think I brought it up in my last 4 episodes that I'm going to review Death on the Nile. But I am excited to see that movie. And I feel like there's going to be more effort put into this one. There's more attention to detail. Kenneth Branagh seems to really love and respect the character of Hercule Poirot. And I love a good murder mystery. So I'm really hoping for a good one in this one. I don't want to be disappointed 2 times in a row. It's been known to happen. But you'll just have to tune in a couple of days and see what my opinion is of that. Otherwise, stay safe, stay kind to one another. I love and appreciate you as always. Thanks for listening. It's a wonderful treat. And I will catch you on the next Spliced In Later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.